I was the villain's long-deceased first love. On the 10th anniversary of my death, the system resurrected me to redeem this corrupted man. But all my memories were gone. When I tried approaching the infamous villain from afar, his bodyguards immediately threw me out. As I sprawled on the pavement, glowing live comments materialized before my eyes. "Here we go again, must be the 100th savior they've sent. The system keeps dumping these replacements to stop him from destroying the world. We've had lookalikes, personality clones, even ones with her full memories. All failed spectacularly. How long will this mediocre copy last?" The system transported me into this timeline where the world balance-threatening villain, now 34, already had a 10-year-old son. My name was Sophia Mitchell, age 23 according to the system. It warned repeatedly about Alex's lethality, cautioning me not to end up like previous recruits who died instantly upon arrival. Alex dominates global power structures, a volatile beast with shreds of humanity reserved solely for his son. The system explained. Studying my reflection, I murmured, "I don't see anything special about me that'd impress him." After a prolonged silence, it replied cryptically, "You're our final chance. If you fail," the sentence hung unfinished before it insisted, "No. You'll succeed." The system's warnings proved accurate. During my first attempt to observe Alex outside his son's school, his entourage spotted me immediately. Dressed in a black overcoat, he stood waiting at the gates without glancing my direction. Something about his razor-sharp profile triggered inexplicable sorrow, tears welling before I registered his approaching bodyguards. They slammed me against the brick wall, pain exploding across my body. "Know your place," one growled, kicking my ribs. "Next time won't be so gentle." Snow began falling as I clutched my injured arm. Across the street, Alex collected his son without smiling, a man carved from winter itself. Alex stubbed out his cigarette and wordlessly took Lucas's hand. They turned to enter the black sedan. Perhaps my gaze burned too intensely. Just before stepping inside, Lucas suddenly tilted his head and locked eyes with me. I stood there covered in a mix of blood and snow, utterly disheveled, yet instinctively offered the strikingly beautiful child a gentle smile. His gaze mirrored his father's chilling detachment as he assessed me with clinical calmness. The glance lasted only a heartbeat before the bodyguard blocked my view, closing the car door with finality. My chest constricted violently as the vehicle disappeared down the snow-swept avenue, leaving me drowning in sudden vertigo. Before I could process this irrational despair, glowing white text began materializing before my eyes. "Another strategist? Seriously? Must be what, the 87th this decade?" The system's pissing itself over Bad Brother's mood swings. Still trying to buy insurance policies against world annihilation, a waste of effort. He only ever loved his dead wife. Remember the replica strategists? The lookalikes? The personality clones? Even that one with full memory implants, gone within weeks. I stared at the rapidly scrolling commentary, frozen mid-blink. Their bad brother could only refer to Alex, the walking apocalypse my system had warned me about. Those failed strategists, that explained the urgency in my mission briefing. But why send me? Some ordinary college dropout with zero preparation? My fingers curled into the blood-stained fabric of my coat as the text shifted focus. Only reason the world's still spinning? That kid. Lucas. Sole surviving piece of his mother. Without that anchor, remember year 3? When he glassed Jakarta over breakfast? Exactly why all strategists fail. First love's sacred. Her memory's the only light in his darkness. Fakers get shredded. So how long for this noob? Bet she won't survive their next meeting. Double down. The neon words pulse like casino lights as virtual chips piled up against my survival. Somewhere beyond the frozen parking lot, a car alarm began wailing, or maybe that was just the blood roaring in my ears. Then I'll follow the bet. Another person sent a laughing emoji. Wait. She took a pretty bad fall earlier. It's snowing heavily again. Who knows if she'll even make it through this? I lowered my gaze, ignoring the flood of mocking comments. My attention stayed fixed on the bloody wounds covering my body. Against all expectations, I became entangled with Alex Bennett again through Lucas's initiative. I didn't know how Lucas found me. I only remember pushing open the door of my budget motel room that morning to find him standing there alone with his backpack, his expression mirroring his father's cold detachment. I paused mid-step. He tilted his head up, eyes locking onto my face. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. Strange that his first question upon tracking me down would be this. "I'm Sophia," I answered earnestly. The white text floating in my vision erupted in unified ridicule the moment I spoke. Frowny face. Has the system completely given up? They tried lookalikes before, similar personalities too, but this is the first time they've used someone with the exact same name. Doesn't the system care about Bad Brother's reaction? Might as well deliver the replacement straight to him saying, "Here's your Sophia." Unlike the jeering text, the boy before me remained expressionless. "I'm Lucas," he stated calmly, watching me intently as if awaiting specific reactions. Sophia, Lucas, our names formed obvious echoes, combined with the floating text's implications. Perhaps Alex's deceased wife had been named Sophia too. But my mind remained blank. I couldn't give Lucas whatever response he sought. His intense gaze gradually cooled as hurried footsteps approached from the elevator. A suited man half a head taller than Lucas stopped before him, bending slightly. "The car's waiting, young master. You'll be late for class." Lucas's dark lashes swept downward in apparent disappointment. He turned sharply to leave, yet hesitated mid-motion. Her brows furrowed slightly again. She gazed at the glass windows across the corridor and said, "You should go get those injuries treated," following her gaze to the mirrored surface. I saw the crude bandages wrapped around my arm and right leg. The system hadn't given me any special advantages since I arrived here. The little money I had could barely cover food and shelter. Medical treatment was completely out of the question. Lucas had already left. My eyes drifted across the glass panes, catching the blurred reflection of my own face. The jagged scar marring my right cheek looked like cracked porcelain. The system told me I died in a fire 10 years ago. Its energy came from this world's resources, but Alex's vengeful nature complicated everything. When his wife died in an accident involving the original story's protagonists, he'd unleashed retribution on everyone involved without mercy. Even the chosen protagonists of this world's destiny had perished 5 years ago. With their deaths, Alex now held the entire world in his iron grip. The system itself was barely surviving, its energy reserves constantly depleted. My reconstructed body only achieved 80% restoration, functional enough, but permanently marked by unhealed burns of varying sizes. The face staring back from the glass belonged to a stranger, plain bordering on unattractive. Choosing me as the one to seduce such a formidable antagonist seemed laughable. No wonder those floating white commentaries kept mocking me. Hope or not, I had to try. This was the deal that brought me back to life, the only way to keep breathing. But before tackling Alex, I needed to solve my immediate survival needs. Through relentless effort, I secured a night shift position at the bookstore beneath Alex's corporate tower. The digital clock read 12:07 a.m. as his black Bentley glided past the storefront. Tinted windows blocked all view, but the chattering white text above my head confirmed his presence inside. The system's given up and this girl's given up too. Other infiltrators would be scheming ways to get close to Bad Brother. She's out here living her best life like this is some career move. Probably got scared when his security roughed her up that first time. Are we really watching Library Duty Simulator? If you're this useless, why take the mission? I spooned cold takeout rice into my mouth, the skyscraper's neon lights reflecting in my plastic fork. Let them laugh. I'd seen 12 other gifted infiltrators get eliminated this month alone. Alex's security detail shot the last one before she even reached the elevator banks. Survival first. Everything else comes after. I lowered my gaze, avoiding the emotionally charged messages. That's when I noticed the stray dog wagging its tail, edging closer to me with pleading eyes. I gave it the 2 remaining pieces of meat from my takeout container. We shared the meal under the night sky, this homeless creature and I. After nearly a month working at the bookstore, my injuries had mostly healed when I unexpectedly encountered Alex again. At 11 p.m., my boss instructed me to deliver a stack of packaged books to the office tower across the street. After passing through multiple security checkpoints, I finally entered the imposing building for the first time. The corporate tower felt eerily quiet after hours. While waiting for the elevator that seemed determined to never arrive, I caught faint distressed sounds echoing from the far end of the corridor. The glowing text projections in my vision screamed warnings about minding my own business, even suggesting I stake out the parking garage to intercept Alex. Yet the guttural sounds of human suffering kept me rooted in place. Against all better judgment, I walked toward the noise. No one could have anticipated finding Alex himself curled in the sterile stairwell lighting, his broad shoulders straining against the crisp black dress shirt. The corporate titan looked startlingly vulnerable, sweat glistening at his temples as he whipped around at my approach. His steel gray eyes burned with icy warning even as pain blanched his lips white. Should I call a doctor? My words faltered under his withering glare. My hand instinctively rose to adjust the medical mask I'd worn daily since the accident, the fabric hiding facial scars that startled customers. Every instinct told me to retreat, yet something about his visible agony held me captive. Digging through my bag, I produced the painkillers I'd relied on during my own recovery. The pills clattered against concrete as I set one beside him. His hand shot out with surprising speed, freezing my retreat with an arctic grip. Our faces hovered inches apart when he rasped, "Who are you?" The lighting was dim, but I still caught a flicker of something in his dark eyes. He moved too quickly, not waiting for my consent. Before I knew it, he'd hooked his finger under my mask and pulled it down. Alex's obsidian pupils reflected the jagged scar across my cheek. Our proximity allowed me to see his gaze falter momentarily. This face of mine remained too grotesque. I readjusted the mask, noticing his palm suddenly go slack. A silver chain slipped through his fingers, dangling a pocket watch with faint etching of a smiling girl's face at its center. I averted my eyes without lingering, leaving the medication on the table. I turned to exit. This time, Alex didn't stop me. Pausing at the threshold for one last glance back, I found him still seated amidst encroaching shadows. The severe black of his suit couldn't conceal the disintegration within. The white commentary resumed its barrage. "Unbelievable, she's literally the most incompetent strategist we've ever had. That was a golden opportunity. How could she just walk away? Should have stayed to comfort bad brother. Alone in that intimate setting and she bolts. What's wrong with her?" More aggressive voices chimed in. Frowny face should have thrown herself at him. Lowball tactics work on damaged guys like that. Let her die faster if she can't perform. We need replacement strategists as soon as possible. The bookstore owner's contract with the corporate tower across the street became my regular delivery route. Sometimes I'd spot Alex from afar, perpetual monochrome figure trailed by obsequious suits. His public persona all glacial authority. The vulnerability from that night had vanished like morning frost. Office whispers reached me during supply runs. "Have you seen the CEO's lair? Not even decorative flowers. Just endless gray walls and that creepy abstract sculpture. Rumor says his penthouse has white walls stained with." The speaker noticed my presence and abruptly silenced. I kept walking, the delivery box in my arms slightly trembling. The elevator doors closed on fragmented whispers about that disfigured delivery girl. My gloved finger instinctively pressed harder against the scar beneath the mask. It's no secret in the company that Alex's late wife passed away early. Maybe it's because his son often appears in the company. Or perhaps it's because of the plain ring on his finger that he never takes off for a moment. So they even start to wonder if Alex, who lives like a monk, is observing chastity for his late wife. I was holding a thick stack of books and silently walked through the well-dressed crowd with my head down. Suddenly, I began to doubt whether it was right or wrong to agree to pursue Alex. It's been over 2 months since I entered this world. From what I've learned, Alex was truly deeply in love with his late wife. No wonder so many who tried to pursue him failed. My pursuit progress is hopeless. Those white texts, perhaps seeing through my incompetence, don't scold me or pay much attention to me these days. My existence seems to be ruining the relationship between Alex and his late wife. I have no past, and it seems I have no future either. Should I still continue this hopeless pursuit? I was so engrossed in my thoughts with my head down, the books I was holding were too thick, blocking part of my vision. I didn't notice that the edge of the books hid a beautiful woman in a white suit dress holding a cup of coffee. Most of the coffee splashed on the books and most of it also splashed on the woman's snow-white blouse in front of me. I lowered my head, busy wiping the books and apologizing to the woman in front of me. The woman's voice was a bit shrill. She frowned and grabbed my arm. "Who let you in?" I explained that I was from the bookstore downstairs. The woman sneered. I've never heard that anyone in the company could have any possible cooperation with a shabby little bookstore. More and more people turned their eyes towards us. I still kept my head down and said sorry to the woman. "Your clothes, I'll wash them for you, or I'll buy you a new one. Can you afford it?" The woman disdainfully sized me up. Her nails were sharp and easily grabbed my hair and pulled off my mask. The mask fell, and my face was completely exposed. At that moment, I heard someone behind me gasp, "You?" The voice of the beautiful woman in front of me also stopped abruptly. I gently closed my eyes. I reached out to put on the mask again, covering up my embarrassed emotions. "Sorry." I bent down with my head down and apologized to her again. "You can decide how to handle this matter, and I'll accept it." In the dead silence of the room, the elevator suddenly made a clicking sound. The door automatically slid open to both sides, and someone stepped out of the elevator car. A tall figure cast a shadow at my feet. I signed the purchase contract with their bookstore. Alex's voice was low and cold, without much human warmth, but the moment he finished speaking, it made everyone in the room lower their heads. Faster than me to regain composure were those white texts. They were dense and filled my eyes, but this time, the content of those texts was quite simple and uniform. They were all question marks, full of question marks on the screen and in my eyes. Did I miss an episode? I just didn't speak. It doesn't mean I'm dead. Can anyone tell me what's going on now? Bad brother, why did you suddenly appear? No. I've been watching this girl every day. How could there be something I don't know she's done? When I looked up dazedly, Alex's polished black Oxfords had already halted inches from my sneakers. A cold grip closed around my wrist, his fingers encircling it with unyielding authority. I didn't dare struggle, couldn't have broken free even if I tried. As my arm lifted involuntarily, the stack of books I'd been clutching cascaded to the floor with a clatter, turning my head slowly. I found myself drowning in Alex's obsidian gaze. He tilted his head down slightly, those fathomless eyes boring into mine with unsettling intensity, but when I tried to read his expression, he turned away fluidly, the moment shattering like thin ice. "Still hopeless as ever," he remarked, the disdain in his voice contrasting sharply with how his grip tightened imperceptibly. His arrival had shifted the room's atmosphere like sudden barometric pressure change. The system and those floating comments had warned me countless times about Alex's terrifying nature, but witnessing his ruthless efficiency firsthand chilled me. Differently, without hearing a single word of explanation from the trembling woman before him, he merely flicked his wrist. Security materialized instantly, dragging her from the floor as everyone kept their eyes glued to their shoes. The man before me radiated danger like static before lightning. I watched numbly as the woman disappeared around the corner, only to startle when Alex's mouth curled into an incongruous half-smile, directed at me. His thumb traced cold circles over my pulse point as he murmured, "Just did you a favor," leaning closer until his breath ghosted my ear. "How will you repay me, I wonder?" The white text exploded across my vision again, hysterical punctuation drowning my sight. I'd sooner believe Bad Brother got possessed than actually liking this chick. Seriously? You ignored the stunners, the geniuses, even the dead ringer for your late wife, but this one catches your eye? Why? She hasn't even tried proper tactics since transmigrating. Seriously, why? Their outrage paled against my own confusion. Alex's sudden interest made less sense than quantum physics. That stiff smile, like he'd practiced it in mirrors, lingered as he guided me into the private elevator. His 36th floor office spanned the entire southeast quadrant, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the river like liquid mercury. Yet the space felt suffocating. All matte black surfaces and shadows thicker than ink. When Alex pushed me onto the leather couch and produced a steaming towel, I didn't resist. Kneeling before me, he began meticulously cleaning coffee stains from my fingers. I stared at his bowed head, the dark waves of hair catching blue highlights from the aquarium wall, wondering when this surreal nightmare would end. His sharp, intense eyes softened with an unexpected tenderness. Holding a towel, He meticulously wiped each of my fingers. I stared at Alexander and murmured, "Will you?" He glanced up, humming in question. I swallowed hard, steadying my panicked heartbeat. "What are you going to do to her?" Alexander's notorious reputation preceded him: unpredictable, ruthless. I'd been the one to provoke that elegant woman first. If she suffered consequences because of me, my conscience wouldn't allow it. Yet fear still coiled in my gut as I spoke. Fingers unconsciously curling inward. Warm hands gently unfolded my clenched fist. Alexander suddenly chuckled, the sound startlingly bright. "What's going through that head of yours?" He ruffled my hair. Amusement lingering. "I'm simply firing her. Nothing more." The floating white text exploded with reaction's frowny face. LOL. After 10 years. Bad brother finally smiles? Unreal. Just firing her, me ass. Last time security dragged someone off, she got beaten half dead without his orders. He brought this nobody to his private wing? Is he actually interested? What's special about this plain Jane? Sudden CEO falls for mediocre girl trope? Did someone tell you nonsense? Alexander's lips still curved with that disarming smile. He kept hold of my hand. "You've misunderstood me." His words carried hidden weight, instantly reminding me of the system's frantic warnings before I transmigrated. I stayed silent, shaking my head slightly. "I don't enjoy harming people," he asserted, suddenly earnest. That employee showed poor manners. Termination suffices. Memories flashed of my first day here, getting thrown against a wall by his guards merely for glancing his way. My throat tightened. Alexander stood, draping his black coat over my shoulders. "Come with me." He took me to a private hospital, its entire floor eerily empty except for waiting medical staff. During the exhaustive physical exams, I realized his original security team, the ones who'd manhandled me, had quietly disappeared. Night fell by the time we finished. Through it all, Alex waited with uncharacteristic patience. He wore a simple black shirt with his overcoat draped over his arm, waiting for me outside the door. When the doctor approached us, Alex merely glanced down, rolling up my sleeve. "Can these scars be removed?" he asked the physician. I stared at my arm layered with fresh wounds over old silvery marks. The doctor's gloved fingers brushed my skin hesitantly. "The recent injuries we can treat. But these older ones," his voice trailed off under Alex's glacial stare, finishing weakly. "We'll need to discuss treatment options." 2 physicians followed us when we finally left the hospital. Alex clasped my hand, explaining without inflection, "I've arranged private care for you at home." Home? I turned to study his profile. "Come live with me," he said, fingertips grazing my back in soothing strokes. "Let me take care of you." My throat tightened as I searched his impassive face. His actions defied logic, this sudden intimacy, this ruthless efficiency that left no room for refusal. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Alex's mouth curved. "I know why you came to this world." His words fell like stones into still water. "To complete your mission. To conquer me." My pulse stuttered. He knew everything: the system, the endless cycle of operatives they'd sent before me. Yet here we stood, his palm warm against mine as we entered the private elevator. With one glance, he dismissed the entourage of bodyguards and medical staff to the adjacent car. The doors sealed, enclosing us in sudden intimacy. He stepped closer, tilting my chin up. For the first time, I turned my face away from his kiss, anticipating anger. I braced, but his lips merely brushed the edge of my surgical mask. "Sophia," he murmured against my ear, the vibration resonating through my bones. Those others were merely players following a script. His thumb traced the pulse fluttering at my wrist. You're simply Sophia." The elevator hummed as my vision blurred with static, the system's interface fracturing into pixelated chaos around his unwavering gaze. WTF? After all that dragging, Turns out Sophie was the actual first love this whole time? Wait, huh. No wonder Bad Brother's been acting possessed lately. So this was the system's final trump card. Where's everyone who roasted her for being lazy after transmigrating? Plot twist, she didn't need to lift a finger, Bad Brother would have simped anyway. Dead first love status? Buffs maxed out. System really went all out resurrecting her with God knows what hacks. Original versus knockoff difference is wild. Even with amnesia and facial scars. Bad Brother still clocked her. Who's brave enough to hate now? First y'all called her wishy-washy. Now it's first love kindness girl can't feed herself but shares scraps with strays. Used to mock her passivity. Now claiming first love should be gentle unlike those try-hard strategists. After all that clowning, they're speed-running apologies now that her ID dropped. Sophia Mitchell. The moment Alex uttered my name with that weighted intensity, fractured memories flickered behind my eyelids. But when I tried grasping them, only emptiness remained. My throat tightened. So this was the truth. I was Sophia Mitchell, the deceased wife of Alex. Meeting his obsidian gaze, I whispered, I don't remember anything. I know. His forehead brushed mine as the elevator chimed at B1. Without warning, Alex scooped me into his arms, my hands instinctively circling his neck. We're going home, he declared. He carried me through the garage into a sprawling estate I didn't recognize. Motion-activated lights revealed a grand foyer dominated by a life-sized portrait of my younger self. 10 years is, Alex's voice fractured as he followed my stare. Long. I learned piano. Painting. The melancholy notes above us ceased abruptly. A door slammed open. Lucas stood silhouetted on the second floor landing a miniature replica of his father in pressed chinos and Oxford shirt despite the late hour. When I squirmed to be released, Alex tightened his grip, depositing me onto a Chesterfield sofa. He's 10, Alex stated, answering my unspoken protest. Old enough. The boy descended with measured steps, eyes never leaving mine. His parted lips mirrored the slight cleft in Alex's chin. My fingers twitched with phantom memory of tracing that same feature years ago. Alex casually draped his jacket over a chair. I already explained everything to him. 2 sentences later, Lucas descended the stairs. He stood before me, maintaining a step's distance as our silence stretched. Confronting the reality that this composed young man was my biological son left me speechless. Dad said there was a house fire. Lucas finally spoke, his voice steady yet eyes glistening. They lied about me still being trapped inside, and you ran back in. His words hung between us as tears spilled down his cheeks. His quiet anguish transported me back to that inferno 10 years prior, flames licking at photographs of baby Lucas in his crib. Alex's absence that fateful night. My desperate charge through smoke-choked hallways, collapsing beams searing my back as I crawled toward the nursery. The moment fire claimed my face and future, genetic bonds defy logic. Tears streamed down my scarred cheeks in tandem with Lucas' quiet weeping. He closed the distance, resting his head against my knees. With trembling fingers, he removed my protective mask, tracing the ravaged skin beneath. Mom, he whispered. I crushed his slender frame against me, this paragon of restraint raised by Alex, now sobbing like the child I'd never held. Through it all, Alex remained anchored at my side, observing quietly until my own composure fractured. Your mother needs rest, he finally interjected, separating us with gentle authority. Later in the master bedroom, I paged through decade-spanning photo albums chronicling Lucas' childhood. Alex emerged from the shower, slipping beneath the covers to pull me against his chest. No, when I confirmed it was really you, his breath warmed my ear. That night last month, feeding strays outside the bookstore at midnight, Alexander said, the car drove past, and I only caught your silhouette. He rubbed my hand gently. For nearly a decade, I hadn't felt a single emotion, but in that moment, my heart raced so violently I thought it might burst through my chest. His arm tightened around my waist as I leaned against his shoulder, studying his profile. The system's been restless these 10 years. He continued. I made its existence hell, and it retaliated with endless traps. I feared this might be an illusion, a beautiful dream that would vanish if I reached for it. My voice dropped. That night in the emergency stairwell at the office, you planned that. Alex didn't deny it. I knew it was you. But terror paralyzed me. After countless nights of dreams where you felt real only to disappear at dawn, I needed you constantly in my sight before daring to grasp this reality. Moonlight streamed through the blinds as we lay awake in his bed. Limbs entangled. The stray you fed, I had someone adopt it. It's in the backyard now. His fingers combed through my hair while he spoke of raising Lucas. Of the endless parade of special guides the system sent. Of decade-old yearning. When I turned to face him, the scar on my cheek brushed his lips. How? I whispered. My resurrection, what deal did you make with it? His laughter vibrated against my temple. Clever girl. After eliminating the original protagonists, I discovered this world's lifeblood. The system survives on energy, first from its chosen heroes, then from economic growth. So I built empires. Every industry, every market. I force-fed it prosperity to bargain for your return. I blinked, gazing at Alexander Bennett's gentle face before me. The man in front of me seemed entirely different from the ruthless deity the system had described. Their negotiations can't possibly have been as harmonious as Alex claimed. The business empire he'd built over the past decade, vast enough to sustain both our world and the system itself, couldn't have been achieved through the effortless means he suggested. Are you exploiting its weakness to threaten it? I asked. Alex's fingers brushed the nape of my neck as he chuckled. Yes. I can provide the energy it needs to survive. Or I can destroy it completely. It's grown accustomed to playing God. Yet I forced its hand. Naturally. It resents me. Over the years, it sent countless distractions, those manipulators trying to influence me. This time, it didn't even bother to heal you properly. Dangerous intensity flickered in his half-lidded eyes as his thumb traced my injuries. But that's my problem to solve. I'll find a way to treat you. As for the system, it won't escape consequences. When Alex spoke these words so casually, I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. Covering my smile, I teased. Just this afternoon, you were insisting you were completely innocent. His laughter rumbled warmly. I didn't know how the system portrayed me to you. I worried you'd fear me. His expression softened as he cradled my face. Sophia, I swear I'll never hurt you. Please don't be afraid of me. That night, Alex clung to me like ivy seeking sunlight. His arms locked around my waist. His desperate embrace kept me drifting between sleep and wakefulness, unleashing a flood of long-buried memories. I remembered our childhood in the orphanage. When we were 12, the director tried to assault me. Alex plunged a dagger into the man's thigh, crippling him before dragging me into the freezing night. We survived in moldy basements, sharing single portions of rice. Those years hardened Alex. He took dangerous jobs, manipulated anyone useful, yet always protected me. When I argued about college tuition costs, he'd show me his scarred arms and say, no. The only refusal he ever gave me. The dreams resurrected my old fears, dreading his new injuries. His week-long disappearances. The darkness he concealed. When I entered university, Alex seized control of the crime syndicate he'd infiltrated. Even after we gained wealth, I begged him to leave that life. Sophia told him I was already in college and would soon be able to work and earn money. She said we didn't need that kind of extravagant lifestyle. She said all she wanted was to live a peaceful life with him. She didn't want him trapped in the heart of darkness. All men have that urge to expand their territories. But Alex always respected her opinions most. The year she graduated college, he married her, promising to carve out a legitimate path forward. They would spend the rest of their lives together. But during those years, Alex had made countless enemies. He showed others mercy, but they showed him none. By marrying her, she became the perfect target. She died in a raging fire and ambush orchestrated by the story's protagonists themselves. For 2 years after her death, Alex completely lost control. He indiscriminately retaliated against everyone involved in that accident, then shattered the world's constraints to expose the system manipulating events from behind the scenes. That's when he discovered they'd merely been living as background characters in a narrative centered around the male and female leads. All their suffering, their love, even her death just set dressing for the protagonist's story. Having seen the truth of their world, Alex spent the next decade consumed by one obsession, bringing her back. When Sophia awoke from the long dream, tear tracks cooling on her cheeks, she turned to see Alex watching her with that familiar furrowed brow. Words felt unnecessary as she buried her face against his chest, arms wrapping around his broad back. "Alex," she whispered into his shirt. The man holding her shuddered. 10 years apart, yet they remained intact. That single utterance told him everything. She remembered it all. His arms tightened around her like he wanted to fuse their bodies together. "Sophia." His voice cracked against her ear. "I've missed you so damn much." Her delayed response came a decade too late. Murmured against his pounding heartbeat, "I'm here."